You gotta give Daddy a bite. Ah! The daddy tax.
Here, that's fine. You have to be in your hands.
Hi, I'm Jordan.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That was some flight. We just had 10 hours with two children, 5 and 2 years old. Right, Noah? How was that flight? This is my daughter. It's my son rotting his brains with YouTube. Although I will tell you something. I have found that his vocabulary, his knowledge of animals, just his general knowledge of pop culture is extravagant for a child of 5 years old, and I attribute that to YouTube. You know, I think we really need to stop thinking about YouTube as this like really bad tool. It's just TV, man. In the same way that like they said, oh, don't watch TV when you're like 6 and 7 years old. You know, remember the previous generations, like, oh, kids glued to the television set. Now they're glued to YouTube. But you know what? At least he's learning stuff. So anyway, I'm on kid duty while the wife gets the bags. She told me I can't get the bags because I always miss the bags, and so therefore I'm just sitting here with the kids, which isn't so bad when you have them both strapped down, contained in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah.
האמת שבסך הכל בסדר. האמת שבאסה, זה כבר פעם שנייה שאנחנו סוגרים אל-על ואומרים שזה הדרימליינר, ובאים וזה ממש לא הדרימליינר, זה המטוסים הישנים השבורים.
I'm just going for an evening walk here. Look at that. Check out that sunset. Where we are right now is the Moshav. And the Moshav is my wife's village. So because it's summer here, everything is in bloom. Usually we don't come during the summer, and so we don't get to see all of the flowers and fruits that sort of spring up. You know, I mean, this is a desert climate, but there's a lot of tropical fruit that flourishes here. And so at my wife's parents' house, you have all sorts of exotic tropical fruit. I don't know, maybe exotic is too extreme of a word, but you have stuff like mangoes and, you know, pomelo grapefruits. Look at the lemon trees up there. You know, just all sorts of stuff. Pomegranates, fig trees, just all kinds of stuff that just won't grow anywhere else. One thing you will see a lot of, lots and lots of stray cats. I don't know how they survive and thrive out here in the desert, but they do. And there are tons of them. Tons and tons and tons of them. And it's really sad. Actually, you do feel empathy for the cats. This Moshav is beautiful. This is the newer part of the Moshav. What is a Moshav, you might ask? Well, a Moshav simply means a village. It's like a sort of like a farming village, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Wow, look at this place. This could be a filming location. You could film a really gnarly scene for a movie here. Who knows? Maybe I will. See how beautiful that is. And as you can see right here, we actually have real grass growing in the desert. And I don't know how else to say this, but I guess it's kind of like a status symbol to have grass in the desert because it uses way more water than anybody has any business using for something that is relatively useless but aesthetically looks pretty. Although I'm sure you could say that about grass in a lot of different climates, not just a desert one. And then around the corner, here we go. Here are the farms. Look at this. These are vineyards. So the sun is setting right there, and as you look, you can see the moon has risen over here. And basically the way it works is everybody who lives in this village, in this Moshav, which is between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, that's the best way to describe it geographically, if you know anything about the geography of Israel. And the way it works is you own part of the farm if you live in the Moshav. So the concept of the Moshav, I guess, is sort of left over from Israel's roots. I'm sure you've heard the term kibbutz, and a kibbutz is like a community farm, and it's a socialist thing. And Israel is a democracy. As a matter of fact, it's the only democracy in the entirety of the Middle East. But I guess you would call it a socialist democracy. And as you can see here, look at these beautiful grapes. Beautiful, beautiful grapes. And if I wanted to, I could just pick these grapes and bring them back to my wife's parents' house, because that's how the Moshav works. Everybody communally owns this land, and they rent it out to farmers who farm the land, or they hire farmers to farm the land, and they grow different crops for different seasons. A lot of it is vineyards, but they rotate different crops, and I don't know if that's because of the nutrients in the soil or how it works. But as you can see here, look, rows and rows and rows of grapes. My wife told me to be careful. She said there's a lot of snakes out here during the summer, and I am wearing sandals, so that's not good. But, well, it is what it is. I'll just be careful. Probably my famous last words, right? So I mentioned that there are workers out here. Something you will see a lot of if you come to Israel and you spend time in the Moshav, you will see a lot of Thai people. There are a ton of Thai people that come from Thailand to Israel to work on these farms, and they get work visas or whatever, and they spend a lot of time here. I don't know the history behind it, but they are the friendliest, nicest, super hardworking people. They're always driving around on these big tractors when you're driving through the village, and they always wave hello and stuff. And they're always wearing tons. They're covered in head to toe in coverings, because the sun is brutal. Right now, it's very cool because the sun is dipped, right? But when the sun is overhead, my Lord, it gets hot out here. I mean, really, really hot. So you got to stay covered. I don't think sunscreen cuts it out here. You just got to stay covered. And so the Thai people, they're covered, and they are awesome. They have their little communities where they sort of do their thing. I guess the closest comparison I could make to where I am right now would be Arizona. Sometimes when I'm in Arizona, or when I've been in Arizona, when I've been in Tucson, I almost feel like I'm in Israel, and it's like the closest. Although, as you can see, you don't get this kind of vegetation in a place like Arizona. However, it is possible in a place like Israel, which has a bunch of different climates, actually. Tons of different climates. In fact, what's really insane about it is that Israel is the size of the state of New Jersey. That's how small it is. And it has a population of 8 million people. So there's a lot of people living on this very small piece of land. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be out here for about 2 months till August 23rd. And so I'm going to do my best to keep grinding on the YouTube scales and putting stuff out. I got a lot of comments over the last 24 hours, and some of them were on the first blog already asking me, am I going to keep making stuff or keep putting stuff out? Yeah, of course. I'm going to do my very best. My Wi-Fi connectivity isn't top notch, and I am on child duty, so it's going to be very hard to grind, but I'm going to grind the best I can. I have a couple other things that I have to make sure that I get edited, including, as I mentioned, 2 top secret projects, one of which I've started and the other one I have not started yet. But we're going to have to find a balance out here. I brought a ton of books. I mean, literally half of what I packed to come to Israel might have been books. And I hope that instead of watching lots and lots of movies like I normally do, I hope that I'll do what I always do when I come out here and get a chance to get some reading done as well. I guess you could call it the summer reading list. And I'll talk about those hopefully when I do more of these videos. So I'm shooting this from my phone, and I plan to edit it from my phone. I did the thumbnail for the YouTube video on my phone. The goal here with this vlog series is to never not do it on the phone. It's going to be entirely within the phone. And the reason why I want to do that is because, like I said, I don't have the bandwidth, I think, to have a bunch of different things set up. And if I could just sort of be noodling around with this on my phone while I'm perhaps, not away from my computer, in wherever we go and whatever we're doing, then perhaps I can keep up the pace of trying to put one of these out every day, every other day. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I did bring this microphone so the mic situation wouldn't be totally crazy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, craziest detail from today's adventure. So as you know, Israel, or maybe you don't know, Israel pretty much vaccinated everybody in the country, and everything is back to normal here, as normal as things can be. There are new COVID strains or variants or something that are sort of wreaking havoc in other places. And Israel has been on the fence whether or not to allow tourism to continue inside of Israel. And it came down today, hours after we landed and I got into the country, that they are right at this moment they're turning away any tourists because they're so afraid of these COVID variants or something like that. I don't know the details. And it's rather serendipitous and fortunate that we were able to get in for a lot of reasons. I mean, it would have been really shitty to fly all the way here and then not be able to get into the country. But just in the way that I don't want to talk about politics or try to, lessen it as much as possible or not make it necessarily about the political climate of things. I'm sure it's going to leak into this vlog, whether I like it or not. It's also, I can't discuss why that was so serendipitous, but it was incredibly serendipitous. And that's really all I could. Sorry to be so vague, but kind of an amazing thing. A miracle, truly. A miracle would be the best way to describe it. So I'm grateful to be here. I love this place. It means a lot to me. It's my wife's home. Stay tuned for the next episode. I will say this, I am super duper jet lagged. Pretty friggin' jet lagged right now. It always happens. The best thing to do is just stay up until it's nighttime here. As you can see, it's about to be dark, and then sleep at the normal time, and then try and, just hit the ground running and follow the circadian clock schedule out here. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow with hopefully another vlog.